Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming new moon in 24.5 degrees of Taurus, which will be exact on May 15th at 7:48 a.m. New York time, which is also East Coast time in the US, and 12:48 p.m. London time. Now, the new moon, of course, is always the beginning of a new moon cycle, which is about 28 days. And so it's the best time for us to get really quiet, to go within. It's an introverted time. And to see if we're getting any new messages or ideas that come through intuitively right now that give us a sense for how to align ourselves with this Taurus energy for the next 28 days. And so if you want to harvest some really wonderful things at the time of the full moon, it's a really great idea to set some new moon intentions right after the new moon becomes exact. But we'll talk about the most potent and best times to do so at the end of this video. So please stay tuned for that. And first, let's talk about the new moon and what that's all about, right? So it's going to be in steady, peaceful Taurus. And so, of course, our focus is on our interaction with the physical world, right? Taurus has to do with matter. And so you could say that we're seeking healthier relationships with the physical world, with matter. And so one of which is that we don't want to be too attached or too disconnected from our physical bodies, from our own resources, from the planet's resources. Our own resources would be things like money, for example, right? Or our own talents. And also, of course, the planet's resources and the planet itself that we co-inhabit. Because the planet is, that's matter. So we are powerfully reminded here with this Tauran energy that in order to take the time to honor ourselves and our planet, it's important to realize that we really only have, one body that we're living in. We don't get to exchange that for another body in this lifetime. So we need to honor this body as the temple that it is for us in this particular lifetime. And we also need to honor the planet, the Earth, because that's the only planet we have. We need to honor its resources and its beauty, right? So we're invited to honor all of these things, ourselves, our bodies, our talents, the planet. And so this is a really good time for reevaluating our relationship to all of this, right? As well as money and possessions, and for discovering what truly makes us happy and fulfilled. What gives us this sense of like, I feel good, I feel relaxed, kind of like that Tauran feeling of complete, just allowing yourself to smell the roses, feel the beauty, touch things, all of our senses are involved, right? So check in with yourself right now and just see what came to mind when you heard me say all this, right? So just take a moment and just maybe even, rewind and listen to it again. But just take a moment and see what came up for you internally when you heard me say all of that, right? Now, the new moon, there has several aspects that are connected with this new moon. One of them is that the new moon makes a trine to Mars and Pluto in Capricorn. And so this combination promotes a realistic and responsible long-term approach, right? Capricorn is always about, how can we sustain things long-term and how can we build something long-term. And so we have the chance to better align our long-term goals with our values. And so it's easier for us right now to sustain what we've already started during the time when the moon was in Aries, or the new moon in Aries phase was last month, and bring a stronger sense of commitment to all of that, right? And just keep working at it or keep moving it forward, right? Bringing it into existence, into manifestation. So ask yourself, if I'm completely honest with myself, what do I truly want for myself long term? And what really matters to me? And that's really, really take your time with that question. Don't try to answer any of these questions right away. Just allow yourself to sit with these questions. And if I felt the need to connect to something in a passionate way, what might that be? What truly fulfills me? And what modest step could I take today to move towards my goals? And that last question is a really powerful question, which, by the way, you can ask yourself every morning when you get up, if you like, especially for the next 28 days, right? It's a fantastic question to ask yourself. And remember, you don't have to answer it right away, any of these questions. And most of you already know this, but for those of you who are new to my videos, please know that all of the questions from my videos are also available in writing via my website, via the weekly forecasts. If you're a member of my online community, you have access to these weekly forecasts all month long. After May 13th, once I post the weekly forecast for that week, you'll be able to get access to all the questions from the new moon video. Okay, so make sure though you're logged into your membership account in order to have access to that. Now, if you want to have access to the new moon questions via my weekly forecasts and the members only full moon videos every month, if you want to have access to all of that, you can join now, become a member while the membership is still available for the price of a cappuccino. And the reason for that is that we're still working to improve the membership functions. This has been something I've been offering this now since February, but the reason why it's still available is because we're still working on making the website easier to manage for members, easier to access, and just kind of get some of the kinks worked out still. So it's a complex matter. Now, you can sign up at astrologercoach.com via the homepage or the membership page. Feel free to do so. And there's also a special offer this month, so stay tuned if you want to hear about that. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Now back to the new moon. Venus, the ruler of Taurus, moves through Gemini at the time of the new moon. And of course, that's important because Venus is the planet that we want to take a look at for this new moon chart. So this reminds us that we need to learn and discuss Taurian issues right now, for the next 28 days. So we need to kind of either learn about our resources, our own resources, or the planet's resources, appreciation for physical matter, natural beauty, anything that's connected to the Tauran energy, right? Our five senses, how we can connect to them in a more fuller way, right? In a way that really helps us appreciate life and beauty and matter. And so, yes, learning, discussing, sharing about all these things with Venus and Gemini is very helpful. Now, the spiritual quest of Gemini connects the development of perception and thought and communication. So we really want to connect, all that Tauran stuff with thought and perception and communication. And as the creative power of the feminine, Venus in Gemini represents the bringing together of opposites, right? Because Gemini has to do with duality. So we're really always trying to bring together the opposite side of things with Gemini, or explore the opposite side of things so we can understand what it's all about, to get a big sense of the bigger picture, right? So for example, people with different values, right? Because Taurus is about values. Gemini is about the opposition, right? So ask yourself here, when I picture this, what do I see? When I picture bringing together of opposites, people with different values, what do I see? And what might this look like in my various communities that I belong to? And how about with my relationships, right? So feel free to just kind of like let yourself marinate, in these questions, let yourself meditate with these questions, let yourself journal on these questions, or keep them in the back of your mind throughout the next 28 days and allow the answers to come to you or through you, right? And with all these questions, because I pose a lot of questions in my videos, just know that you don't have to use all of these questions. Use the questions that resonate most with you, right? When you hear me say a question, or if you read one of the questions in the weekly forecast, just kind of like, you will feel some questions you will feel more drawn to them than others, right? So use the ones that you feel most drawn to. Now, some more questions you can ask yourself here with Venus in Taurus. Could exploring duality help me understand different points of views? And might curiosity be a vital tool in all of this? And if so, what could I get curious about? And what would 5% more flexibility do for my ability to relate to others? I think these are fantastic questions. So feel free to really connect with these questions if they resonate with you. And another thing that's worth mentioning as well with this new moon is that Venus in Gemini also makes a mutual reception to Mercury in Taurus. So they're in each other's sign until May 19th. And during that time, they mutually support each other's agenda, which means that this gives us an opportunity to connect our mind with our heart. Mercury is the mind, Venus is the heart. So we seek out mental stimulation, right, with that combination: teaching, learning, writing, collecting, processing information, all that stuff, anything in connection with information, right? And we want to share the output in practical ways, Taurus, applying it to the real world, to ourselves, our values, our physical experience of life. And so as best as you can, allow yourself to take your time processing things that you just started engaging with. In the meantime, stay open to learning, remain curious, and remember that every teacher is also a student and vice versa. And I think that's important to remember, because with that mutual reception, we get to really learn from connecting with others. We get to learn through that exchange and that interaction with other people. So you can ask yourself here, what if I listened to myself 5% more? And what if I had 5% more faith that I will be heard by others? And what might I discover about my thinking processes and my value as I do that? Now, is it possible that my value doesn't need to be earned? And I think that is a fantastic question to ask. And this is something that we don't actually very often think about, right? That when it comes to our own value, is that something that's just given to us? Is that a birthright? Is that just something we are born with, right? Or is it something that we have to kind of get to? And you want to investigate that for yourself. Where do you stand with that? Do you feel that you need to earn your own value, right? And what if without my being alive, nothing else could be as it is? Like, just imagine that. And I think that's such a powerful thing to visualize, right? If you were not alive, what if nothing else in this world would actually be the same because you're not there? Like, that the world needs you. The world values you because you're there and it brings something to the world, right? So that's a really powerful thing to kind of sit with. Now, another thing I want to talk about is that Uranus is in its last degree of Aries, in 29 degrees of Aries at the time of the new moon, and it makes a square to Mars, its ruler of Aries, right? Also in the last degree of Capricorn. So as some of you already know, when a planet is in the last degree of a sign, the energy of that planet is exalted, because the planet is sort of like, it knows that a shift is coming and it's the last hurrah of that sign. So you could say there's sort of like the vibration of that planet in that sign gets louder so that we can finish something up. It's sort of like a crescendo, like a finishing up of that particular energy. So you can ask yourself, what am I waking to, right? Because Uranus is the awakener. What am I waking up to? And where do I need to assert myself, right? Mars, Aries, right? Where do I need to assert myself? And how might I do that while still keeping what I want to create long term in view? And this is important because, we're talking about Mars in Capricorn, right? So this is sort of like a long-term view that we're taking, right? And there's some other questions you can ask yourself here, which is, what has been holding me back? Because, this square, this Uranus-Mars square, this is not the first time we're experiencing this, and then we've also been experiencing this Uranus-Pluto square for the longest time. That's now starting to, finally go away. But these squares are turning points in our lives, right? They're teaching us something. They're saying to us, what is holding you back from making a leap forward, from moving something forward? And ask yourself, am I ready to address that and change? And what needs to happen so I can move forward in a mature fashion? And this is important because, when we want to have a breakthrough with something, especially when it's in Aries, there's sort of like a teenage energy connected to that. That's a little bit impulsive. But with that Capricorn energy coming in that says, hey, not so fast, do this, but do this, as an adult. Do it, slow down, and look at what might be the consequences of doing this, right? So we need to look at both parts and find creative solutions to how we move with that teenage energy and how we move with that more mature adult energy, right? Now, Uranus moves into Taurus only 3.5 hours after the new moon becomes exact. Now, this is important because that means that there is a huge shift coming right after the new moon becomes exact. Starting, this is a new beginning in a new sign, which is sort of like a preview in this peace-loving and sensual sign until November of this year. And the reason why it's a preview is because Uranus will return to Taurus in March of 2019 for a 7-year transit. Uranus always takes about 7 to 8 years to go through a sign, right? And so these next 28 days will really be ripe with shifts and changes because we were starting something fresh, a new sign and an outer planet, right? So as best as you can, stay centered in the here and now, expect the unexpected, and allow yourself to make an inner shift as this is starting to pave the way to create some outer shifts, right? So it's a process. Remember, an outer planet moves slowly, which means it's a process. So you're not going to shift into something right away, although you may, if you have personal planets in an early degree of Taurus. But it's also a process in the Taurian energy, right? So these next 28 days, just remain open as much as possible. We also went over the upcoming shifts in more detail in the last forecasting forum when we talked about Uranus and Taurus until 2026, right? And so if you want to know how this journey is going to impact you personally, feel free to get the 120-minute long webinar on that subject on my website at astrologercoach.com. The fee for this is only $37, even though the webinar is 30 minutes longer than my usual webinars. But that's partially because we also covered Chiron journeying through Aries until 2027. So this webinar is really 2-in-1 in a sense. So you're getting two things in two major planetary shifts in one webinar. But it's still only $37. Now you can also check out a brief excerpt of this webinar on my website. There's like a 15-minute excerpt where where you can see, is this for me? Do I really want to watch this if you don't want to spend the $37 right away? And that's on the homepage of my website. If you go all the way to the bottom, you'll see the excerpt for Chiron and Aries, Uranus and Taurus. All right, so feel free to watch that and enjoy that. And I also offer a special this month. If you sign up for Star or Superstar membership by May 31st, or upgrade your Universal membership via my account on my website to one of those other memberships, you will get this 2-hour webinar for free. Okay, so that will be available to you for free if you do choose to sign up. Now let's go back to the new moon video. If we think back over the last 7 years, right? In other words, March 2011 until May 2018, while Uranus was in Aries, just ask yourself, if you think about that time, where did I make progress on my goals and desires, my personal goals and desires? And what structures needed to be renewed so I could have a breakthrough and find a new or unique approach to who I am, right? To who I'm being in the world, right? And what self-realizations from the last 7 years make me stand out and go after things in a more original way? Really powerful questions here, right? And just remember to think back to these past 7 years and see how that could apply to you, right? Now, the last question is, how did this 7-year transit through Aries support my vision for who I want to be in the future, right? Because remember, Uranus makes way for a better future, right? So whatever Uranus is breaking down or breaking through in our lives, it's making space for a better future that's in higher alignment with our higher self, right? So if you have a birth chart and you know what to look for, look to see what houses are connected to the Aries energy. And if that sounds like I'm talking a foreign language and you don't know how to do that, feel free to watch my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. You can watch that video on my website. If you go to the homepage and you look for a free video, you can watch that video. Or join our next forecasting forum on May 31st at 7 p.m. New York time. And ask me your question there. We will be covering Mars, the Mars station and retrograde phase that starts in June. And so, of course, Mars is the ruler of Aries, so we will definitely talk about Aries in our chart. So that will definitely be covered in more detail. So feel free to either join us live, or you can also just watch the recording if you like. Any of that is available and possible. Now, Mercury is going to be in 3 degrees of Taurus at the time of the new moon, conjunct Uranus in 29 degrees of Aries. Now, this means that Mercury aligned with Uranus in 29 degrees of Aries just 2 days before the new moon on May 13th. So this could bring some exciting possibilities, perhaps even a leap forward in our evolution of our consciousness. Maybe with flashes of insight into our own mental workings and some original thought coming through. So just allow yourself to kind of stay open to that happening and getting sort of like a flash of like what needs to maybe shift for you, or how your future can start to get more in alignment with your higher self. And as best as you can, and as much as you want to, of course, stay open to other dimensions and stay grounded in your body. Very important, because sometimes with Uranus-Mercury combination like that, there's a lot of energy up here on the upper part of our energy body. And so we tend to feel this electricity, moving through, especially through our third eye. So you want to ground yourself. Yeah, if you don't ground yourself, you could feel a little bit, that could be a lot of nervous energy, could be shaky, could feel, anxious, could be some anxiousness. So as best as you can, ground yourself through your physical body, right? Into the ground, like keep your feet planted on the earth. Now ask yourself, what might a true breakthrough look like for me? And what insights am I receiving right now? And what is it I'm learning about myself every day that might change my whole perspective about life, about myself, about my relationships, about my interactions with other people, all of that. So great questions, right? Now, Mercury also makes a trine to Saturn in Capricorn at the time of the new moon. So with Saturn being a part of this equation, it is important for us to learn something new using a mature and realistic approach. So ask yourself here, what concrete practical plans could I make? And could I allow myself to take it one step at a time, staying grounded in the here and now? This is important, right? Because there's going to be a lot of that Uranian energy coming in as well. So How can I slow it down a little bit, take it one step at a time, have a realistic approach, right? Stay grounded in the here and now. And what does a truthful, realistic alignment with my long-term goals look like, right? What would that look like for me if I had a truthful, realistic approach and be in alignment with that in a truthful, realistic way? Now, the last aspect I'm going to talk about with this new moon is Jupiter in Scorpio trines Neptune in Pisces. And so this brings a potential for spiritual inspiration, right? Neptune in Pisces, very spiritual. Jupiter in Scorpio asks us to go deeper, to connect on a deeper emotional level, really investigate, do some research. So this could really bring us sort of more of an enthusiastic, heart-centered connection, especially within our intimate relationships with other people. So ask yourself, how might more trust and empathy help my perception of intimate relationships or other relationships, maybe financial connections with other people? Trust and empathy, right? Just contemplate on that. And what might be possible for me if I allowed for things to unfold? If I allowed for things to simply unfold. Again, it comes back to trust as well, right? Trust and empathy with myself too, right? What if I allowed myself to see the perfection in everything that I perceive right here, right now? And that's a very powerful question that I think we can pose every day, really, right? What if I allowed myself to see the perfection in everything that I perceive right here, right now? Because we're so good at always looking for problems, right? We're so good at looking for what's not working, what's not right, what's not perfect. You know, all the things out there in the world that are wrong or that are, you know, insane or that are breaking down, you know. But rather than doing that, you know, why not focus for ourselves and allow ourselves to see the perfection? Because once you open up to that, you know, it takes a little practice, but once you open up to that, you know, it's not really a matter of the mind to see perfection. It's a matter of the heart to see perfection. So that's some kind of an exercise or like a experiment that you can get into for yourself if you like, if you haven't done that yet. Now, to sum it all up for this new moon, it is important to remember that we are part of nature, just like a tree or an ocean, and that our actions and interactions with the only home we currently have will change it for better or worse. So we want to make sure that we're interacting with it in a way that is serving us long term. So we're also developing an increasingly profound conscious awareness over the next 28 days, especially once Uranus moves into Taurus in connection with all of this and helps us to feel more connected to the planet. So as we want to bring all of this together, just ask yourself, what baby steps could I take for the planet I co-inhabit? What would show my love and appreciation for the physical world? And what do I sense when I get very quiet and tune into my own energy field and the energy all around me? What do I sense? And what really matters to my heart? So these are some really powerful questions, I think. So definitely allow yourself to sit with that if that resonates with you. And then if you have an ascendant or any personal planets in 22 to 27 degrees of Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, or Aquarius, then this new moon is going to be more powerful for you. It's going to impact you more strongly. But even if you don't have personal planets in those degrees and signs, you want to take a look at the house placement in your natal chart that's affected by this new moon. That's equally as important. And that indicates which area of your life needs your attentions for the next 28 days. So take a look at 24.5 degrees of Taurus. Where does that land in your birth chart? And what does that house and area of your life represent? So where do you get invited to reevaluate what matters to you in that area of your life, right? Now, if you don't have a birth chart or you don't know what I'm talking about here, then again, you know, feel free to watch my video on how to read your birth chart. It's available on my YouTube channel or on my homepage on my website at astrologercoach.com. towards the end of this 30-minute class, I will let you know how to get a visual of your birth chart for free online if you don't have a birth chart yet. But also this video is really valuable to watch to understand how to apply what I talk in my videos and in my weekly forecasts to your own birth chart. It's also a great video to watch right before you join the monthly forecasting forum if you haven't joined us yet, right? If this is your first time. And then also, let me talk very briefly about the forums before we go into the new moon intentions. If you want to access the forums each month, you can either register on my website through being a member, or you can go to my homepage and just buy the forums each month separately. And if you want to ask questions in advance, please also fill out the form that will be emailed to you after you register for the forum. And again, we have a special offer this month that I mentioned already. If you become a star or superstar member by May 31st, you will get the Chiron and Aries and Uranus and Taurus webinar for free. So this is 2 hours of valuable information about these major planetary shifts in relationship to your own birth chart. So you will get that for free if you sign up before May 31st. And if you're already a star or superstar member and you would like to ask a question in advance for the next forecasting forum, which will be on May 31st at 7 p.m. New York time, you can go to your membership portal and make sure you're signed into my account, and then click on my services, and you can add the forum to your cart there. It won't cost you anything to add it because it's for free for you. If you're a member already, if you add that to the cart, it will trigger an email to you so you can ask your questions via that email. And if you're a universal member, please know that you can switch to any of the other membership levels at any point via the online portal. Pretty much everything can be done via your My Account tab. And if you have any questions about that whatsoever, if you're not sure how to do any of that, my assistant is happy to stand by and talk you through it over the phone. I also have a video that I can send to you that makes it a little bit easier to manage that. So feel free to ask for that by just sending us an email to info@astrologercoach.com and just write membership video in the subject line. And I will also answer all the questions that I receive for the forum in the order that I receive them. But please ask questions that are connected to what we're covering each month. So for this month, we'll talk about Mars station and retrograde phase in Aquarius, and then later also in Capricorn. So feel free to ask questions about that in relationship to your own birth chart. And that's it. Now, let's talk about the new moon intentions. The new moon is the best time to set powerful intentions for the moon cycle, so for the next 28 days. And this can be done after the new moon becomes exact, but you don't want to do it during a moon void of course phase. And this is very important because the moon void of course phases, they're very creative phases where nothing really kind of like sticks when we do something during moon void of course. It's more of a time where we want to just relax and just maybe do some inner work. But it's not a time we want to use when we want to manifest something, right? So if you want to manifest, avoid moon void of course phases. So this month, the best time to set intentions would be between 7:48 a.m. on May 15th and 7:48 a.m. on May 17th. That's New York time. However, there will be a brief moon void of course on May 15th, starting at 4:30 p.m. until 4:45 p.m. New York time. So it's just 13 minutes. Actually, it's until 4:43 p.m. New York time. So just 13 minutes where we have a moon void of course. And so avoid that time if possible. Just kind of like allow your intuition to surface during that time and just take a break. And if you live in a time zone other than US East Coast time, feel free to join my Facebook fan page or my Twitter page, which is facebook.com/astrologercoach.sonjafrancis, all in one word. Or you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/SonjaFrancis. And I will be posting several reminders starting on May 15th until May 17th to let you know when is the best and most potent time to set your intentions. And then that way you don't have to convert the time into your own time zone. When you see those posts, just know now it's time to sit down and set my intentions. And so when you set your intentions, just ask yourself, what might shift if I focused 5% more on the beauty that already surrounds me? And what might open up if I truly valued curiosity and open-mindedness? And if I learned to listen right past my conditioning and my opinions about things? And what if I took time to respond? What might my heart want to say then? Right? So these are great questions to ask as you set your intentions. Allow yourself to feel into those questions. And for more information about setting new moon intentions, that's available as well on my website or on my Facebook fan page. You can check the notes sections on my Facebook fan page via your computer. Unfortunately, that's not available via iPhone or Android. Or on my website, go to the blog page and then look for astrology articles. And one of the astrology articles that I posted is about setting new moon intentions. So feel free to do it that way as well. And again, all of the questions from this video are also available for everyone who is a member on my online community, on my website at astrologercoach.com via the weekly forecasts at the very bottom of the homepage or the blog page. Or you can also go to your membership portal via my content tab inside my account tab, right? So you can get all the questions in writing there. If you want to have access to the new moon and full moon questions via my weekly forecasts and also the members only full moon video every month, join me now, become a member while it's still available at the price of a cappuccino, which is really not a lot at all. And if you want to sign up for my monthly forecasts, I send out a newsletter every month. You can either sign up via my homepage at astrologercoach.com or you can email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write newsletter in the subject line. And that newsletter usually has my new moon video in it. It has announcements about my business in it. It has special offers in it and things of such nature. Okay. Now, if you have any general questions for me, either about the new moon or astrology in general, I'm always happy to answer general questions. Feel free to send me an email to Sonja@astrologercoach.com. That's SONJA@astrologercoach.com. General questions are great. If you have personal questions that require of me to pull up your birth chart, then please book a reading with me just so I can honor my time and also make sure I can answer your question fully and completely. And those readings are available via my website, via the services tab or the services page, or also on the homepage you will see there's a tab that says readings. So just book it right there. And if you have any questions that are connected to what's coming up within the next 30 days, feel free to join the monthly forecasting forum and ask your questions there. That's available too. So lots of different things available. I hope that was not too overwhelming, all the different choices you have. But again, if you have any questions about anything, just feel free to reach out and I'll always be happy to answer your questions. All right. So have a good one. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis, and I hope you have a fantastic new moon on May 15th. All right. Goodbye.